Welcome aboard Antoinette. My name's Damien and we're doing another project. We're going to put some solar on Antoinette. I was hoping to have some time off work. I was hoping to be out on the water. Unfortunately, that is not happening. We've got a cyclone sitting off the coast at the minute. It's blowing about 30 knots today, has been for the last few days. So it's really not boding weather. So time for a project. Now, so I have received everything apart from the solar panel. So I've ordered a 175 watt solar panel with a company called Rudder, and this is basically their whole pack, so everything comes together. So we have their MPPT. I could upgrade this to a Victron later on, which might be something I do. We've got 6 foot of connector to the solar panels. One thing I did note is that the end of these cables are they're not labelled, the cables aren't labelled or anything like that. So once you run them, it'll be very difficult to tell which is positive and which is negative. So this is the positive one. You can just see the red on the end there. And I've just put a bit of blue shrink wrap. I didn't have any red shrink wrap on the end, just so when I know it, that the blue means that's the positive one. So they're the two connectors to the solar panels, and from the MPPT to the battery, 2 of these, which I've also marked up. The only last thing I've got is a temperature sensor. So that connects to the MPPT to give it more information about the battery. So I mentioned I got a 175 watt flexible solar panel. It's going to go on the roof, not on the bimini. And the reason I got the flexible one is I wanted to get as big a one as possible. 100 watt will fit in flat, but the 175 one, it will go up on that little kick that you get just near the anchor light. So we'll go up on the roof and have a look at that in a second. And we'll also have a look at some of the areas where I'm going to run these cables. Okay, let's go have a look. We're up here on the roof, so I'll just show you where we're going to put these panels. I'm sorry if there's a bit of wind noise. It is blowing a gale today. So this is where I want to put the panel. As I said, a 100 watt panel will fit in this flat bit between the end of the windows and that kick up. But I went for 175 watts, so I've just got to deal with that little kick up there. It's not very much, but just means I've got to go flexible. Okay, back inside. Sorry, it's a pretty humid today. We've got rain, we've got wind, we've got everything happening today. I'll just show you some of the bits that I've found where I'm going to put some of this wiring. So this is on the starboard side, driver position just up the front there. And there's a speaker right here, so good access to get in there and have a look around. So there's the speaker hole there. I did take the light off as well. I haven't screwed it in properly. I did take the light off as well. I found I didn't really need that to access in, but we've good access in there. And I found this piece of conduit here. So this piece of conduit goes down, and we'll just follow down. So here's the pillar here. And there's that conduit there, and that comes, there's an air vent there. So I've just taken the air vent out and I've pulled in, so I'm going to pull the cable through there, and then from there I can go down into the lazarette. So hopefully making no more holes is the idea. So we're down in the lazarette now, so there's that conduit coming out there, run down here, come out under there, and we can run it under here. There is a cutout up under there, you can't really see it. Then run the wires in under here, and I'm figuring the MPPT can sit nicely there. And then we can run our wires from the MPPT down and across and into our batteries, which are over here. Sorry if that's a bit confusing. So I'm not sure if you followed all that. It's a little bit confusing. This is the plan at the minute, so I'm going to run it down there, put it into the side of the lazarette, far away from the battery as I can possibly be, but then run the cables into the battery box. So, and that'll just be straight to the house battery. So that's the plan at the minute. Obviously, best laid plans of mice and men, but that's how I'm going to go at the minute. Once I get the cables, once I get the solar panel actually here, I'll put it all together and see that my cable runs will work, but I think that is fairly easy. So, waiting for the postman now. Finally, we've got the 175 watt flexible panel. It arrived. just a little bit after Christmas, so with the Christmas, New Year, holidaying, and we did a little bit of boating in between because we had some really nice weather. So we've got the panel here all ready to start the install. In the meantime, I've also done some extra purchasing. So this is 3M VHB tape, or very high bond tape. It's a little bit of a foam tape, so I'm going to be using this as the adhesive for the panel to Antoinette. So the other purchase I did is a weather resistant cable mount, so this can go on the roof, or I have a little bit of an idea of putting it underneath the roof and running the cables up and round, even more weather resistant. So your cables will go through there, but I'll get down on Antoinette and have a look at how that goes. So let's get everything together and head down to the boat. Okay, so we're up here on the roof, and this is where the solar panel is going to go. Got some masking tape, so I'm going to just mark out precisely where it is going to be, and then I can use the 3M tape. I'm going to run the tape this way in strips down the panel, so we can take into account this slight little rise we've got through there. It'll be flat along here. The 3M tape does lift up a little bit to give some space underneath the panel. And then I've just got to work out how I'm running the cable work, which I have an idea. Instead of putting the cable mount up on the roof here, I could run them down the side and in here and go underneath and do the penetration into the roof space underneath, so that even less chance of moisture getting in. I'll just have a quick play with that, but I'm going to get to it now. So I'll put all this together, mark it up, and then I'll show you how I run the 3M tape. Alright, so we're halfway through sticking down the very high bond tape. So I'm doing them in 150 mil sections, so 150 mils between each of those. So that'll provide heaps of bond, and then that space in between will allow for any moisture to get away. And it is foam tape, so it does have a little bit of lift. Between it and the boat. Alright, so let's lay the rest of this up. Finished laying up the tape. I've just put some extra pieces on the leading edge and in the middle towards the front, because obviously if any wind gets in there, that'll be the bit that'll be problematic. Otherwise, this tape can hold, for each inch of tape, it can hold 5 kilograms. So we've got about 7 meters of tape on there. So as I said, this is all 150 mil spacing, so that's all ready to go. Okay, one last little thing I've done, I've put on all the VHB tape, and I probably should have done this before we went down before, is I've just got the piece of cardboard that it came with, and I've just zip tied that to the front of it, just so there's no errant voltage getting out and doing anything. Also means it doesn't get quite so hot while I'm working on it. So yeah, probably I should have done that at the beginning, but that little just cover up the panel so there's no voltage coming out in case, I don't know how it could happen, but don't want to test it, in case you know, the cables came into contact with each other. I don't know how they could do that, but better safe than sorry. So alright, I'm going to go back down to the boat. It's quite hot today. I'm going to give that roof a little bit of a clean, and then I'll be sticking the solar panel on and then dealing with the cables. So the solar panel is all stuck down. It's a little hard to see because I've got the cover on it still. I don't want any errant power getting out. So you can see it's all stuck down there. So there's no way you can lift that at all. It's not coming up. So that's really firmly held down, which is great news. There is a bit of an undulation up here. It's very hard to see just where the anchor light is. But I think it's going to be all fine. You can see it's just bent around with a nice flexible panel. The reason we have reached an impasse is these cables. I want to get some white shrink wrap to put around them so they don't look so, they don't stand out so much on the white. I'm going to run this cable like this and have it join its other partner there. So that's where the other cable will join up. Then they'll both run down here and come out just by the side of the 895 here. And if we have a look underneath, if we look up, so we're just on the side here, there's the captain's door down there, the 895, and there's an overhang in here, and I found a very nice little spot to run the cables in. Pretty tricky to get to, but it means they'll be out of the weather. So there they are there. So I've just drilled through the fiberglass up through here. Oh. So there they are there. So no weather's going to get in there, perfectly weather safe. So there's the cable running down, you can see, and there's the two access points into the ceiling. And I've Sikaflexed them all in. So that's where I'm going to stop today until we get some white shrink wrap to put around those cables so they tie into the roof line a little bit more. Then I'll be running them down into the battery well tomorrow morning. Okay, see you then. Okay, so we're halfway there. We've got the two cables coming out of that conduit on the vent, and now we just need to get down into the lazarette. Alright, I'm in the lazarette. If I look a bit hot, because it is very steamy and warm here today. Not a great day to do this job. I've got everything from the roof into the lazarette. I've started wiring up the battery, and I'll show you that in a second. So we're getting pretty close to getting things powered up. So this is a little bit of a dangerous time. So I'm being really cautious, and I've got all the power off. So just as I'm doing this, I've got the earth off and everything else off. So we've run our wires. Where are we? Came in somewhere near the speaker up there, down the side here. Used that vent to get them through. Then could get them in under here, under sort of where the petrol tank is. And as I mentioned before, there's a little hole up in there, so I didn't have to drill any more holes. So there they come through here. And so that's where our solar's going to come to. And if we pull back a bit, that's where my MPPT is going to sit. So nicely in the lazarette, out of the way. And in the other work that I've been doing, obviously you can see I have got the battery positive and negative in. That's from the battery. So it's a bit cramped. So I've got everything wired into there. Now that's going into my Victron shunt. The negative is attached. The positive is not attached. Okay, so that's a really something to keep in mind when you're doing all this, is the positive is not attached. So if those two wires crossed, I wouldn't get an arcing situation. I'm still not going to attach them yet. I'm going to wait till sort of the latest moment I can to power on the system, so I get this on the wall. Unfortunately, a bit of a trick is you can't attach it to the wall. You can't attach it to the wall and get access to the screws. So I have to leave it off the wall. Oops. I have to leave it off the wall and flopping around. So my cable run for the battery just goes through that little hole onto the port side storage cupboard, and I've just drilled another hole there. Alright, so I'm going to keep going. Ugh, I'm a mess. I'm going to keep going. The other thing I will mention is that piece of cardboard is still on top of the solar panels, because I don't want spare charge roaming around. And the other thing is this blue. Remember at the beginning of the video I said I'll mark up a bit of blue to show me the positive. Well, it's a bit difficult to explain, but this is the connector to the solar panel. So the red bit connects to the female on the solar panel. So that is actually the negative. So yeah, it's not too hard. If you put a voltage meter in the solar panel, and even though it's covered, it's getting 7 or 8 volts of power, so I could check which way was positive and negative. So that's actually the negative. So something just to keep in mind as you're doing all this. All right, I'm going to keep going, and hopefully next time we'll be about to power it up. All right, we're getting really close now. So we have power to the MPPT. So this is the batteries coming in, this cable here. So that's connected to the batteries. It is not 25 degrees. I gave up on the temperature sensor just for the minute. It's not infallible. So I'm just going to do that later. This is the cables out to the solar. They are not connected yet, 0 voltage. So I'm just making sure everything's nice and safe before I proceed. Yeah, so we're all dialed in. I've got everything going. Yeah, so you can see it scrolling through its various screens there. 0 amps, obviously. 0 kilowatts, but it does tell me the voltage of the battery, which is good. And yeah, so I guess the next video is I'll go and turn everything on. The last step is plugging the panel in and taking the cardboard off. I haven't done all my wire runs for this yet because I just want to see how everything lies. But let's plug it in, make sure we've got power, and then I can clean it all up. So remember, this is that little problem I had. That, even though it's red there, is actually the negative cable. So I'll just push that in a bit. And they give a good click, so there's no way that's coming apart. So I'll need to pull that through a bit, obviously. Okay. So I'm just going to leave the cardboard on while I do this plugging, and then I can go check that. Ooh. Let's go have a look. Ouch. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Can't see anything. Okay, we've got nothing at the second. I will go and take the cardboard off. Okay. 13.2 volts. I've got little symbols going up, but it's telling me voltage. 4.6 amps. Alright, so we're doing some charging. So we've got 4 amps, which is not a heap, but it's just a little bit cloudy at the second. And so I'll just go through and set up this MPPT for this battery. So it's an AGM battery, and we can also check it with the Victron battery monitor. Okay. So here's the MPPT, cycling through all of its stuff. Still not 25 degrees, I can show you that. That's the battery voltage, and it's producing 4 amps. 4.8 amps. And we can have a look up here to see if the Victron agrees. 4.6, yeah, so pretty much the same. And hold on. And there's a bit of cloud cover. around today, so maybe that's to be expected. Well, we're in and we're getting some power into the batteries. I've just put the fridge on to see how that goes with the battery charging as well. Obviously, I've just realized from the last little video I did, it won't be putting much ampage into the batteries because they're full. So the battery's at 13.4 volts, so it's going to be on float charge, so it's really not going to put much ampage in. The last thing we need to do is check the battery type on the MPPT. This one can charge multiple different types of batteries, and it has a different sort of float charge profile for each different battery, so you can use it with lithium if you've gone to lithium batteries. We've got AGM in here. Flooded and lead acid batteries are the two others that can do, so I'll just change that now. So I'm still getting used to this MPPT. There you can see the voltage going in. This button says battery type and this button says amp volt, so I think that just scrolls you through the different screens. So we want to change the battery type. It says hold for 3 seconds. So you can see at the moment it's on gel batteries, which are not the battery type I've got. I need to go to sealed. Lithium, flooded, sealed. That's what I want. So click and hold that, and there we are. I'll just check that again. So just press and hold this for 3 seconds. There we go, it's on sealed. That's what we want. So the battery's at 13.4 volts. We're currently putting in about 3.7 amps. And up here, you can have a look at our Victron. We're using 1.3 amps because I've got the fridge on. So that's all right. So yeah, and it's a little bit cloudy, so hopefully during the day that'll change, but as I said, the battery is full. Well, I hope that helps if you're looking at putting solar onto your boat to help you out on the hook and keep you on the water a little bit longer. May I suggest not doing it in the middle of summer? It was pretty hot today. I'm going to go jump in the pool. Please leave your comments, and if you've got any other ideas that I should have taken care of, or if you've got any questions, please, I'm happy to try and answer them. I hope that helps. Like and subscribe.